Nathaniel Clifton. I always know you was born with a higher purpose.
Joe Lapchick.
Matt Clifton. Some call me Sweetwater.
I coach a team called the New York Knickerbockers.
Ain't no Negroes playing your league.
It's not gonna be like that forever.
The NBA champs got their asses kicked by an all-Negro team.
It's like a circus, though. It's Ringling Brothers.
Sweetwater knows this game better than anyone. I will fight for this. I want to fight with you.
Sweetwater, that was your last game wearing a Trotter uniform. Your next game will be in a Knick jersey.
You know you can't play him.
The guy is the future of the NBA.
Change is happening, but I don't know that my city can take it.
This ain't about the color of my skin.
You need to move away from my lily white pumps.
It's about being true to the game of basketball.
It's unnecessary to have all this razzle-dazzle on our courts, and that's what the Negro players will do.
But every time we step on this court, it means something.
You ready to change the game?
Oh, I was born ready.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, today we are so happy and excited to have with us the talented writer and director of Sweetwater, which comes out very soon, Martin Guigui. Martin, hello, say hello to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Now, Martin, I love sports movies. And so for you to get a story that we haven't seen yet, the story of Nate Clifton, aka Sweetwater, a player who many perceive as the first Black American to play in the NBA. What made you want to make this film, and what made you want to write this screenplay?
That's a good question. I identified mostly with his frustration to want to play a specific style of basketball, a creative style of game. A similar thing happened to me when I was a kid growing up. I grew up in New York City. And I played what they call street ball as a kid, and a fan of the creative game. And when I was in high school, my coach, didn't necessarily enjoy me going out there, and he thought I was showboating or showing off or whatnot instead of sticking to specific plays. And so I was frustrated when I was a kid, right, trying to play the game that I love. And so that's what I identified with the most. But then it also hit me, and this, by the way, goes back to April of '95 is when I first bumped into this story. So that's 28 years ago. And I was not shocked, but I was just like, wow, this is kind of a piece of history, a little bit like like Jackie Robinson and that story from Major League Baseball. And it happened around the same time. So I thought, well, it'd be cool if, everybody knew that, and, the NBA or basketball also has some of that history embedded into its subculture and eventually into its culture now. That's the game we play, and not dissimilar to jazz or blues. Right, it's embedded in the African American culture, at least in its roots. So that's essentially, those are the two things that hit me, because I'm a musician as well, and I was like, oh man, I got people need to know about Sweetwater Clifton, and Earl Lloyd and Chuck Cooper. Right, there were three of them, but Sweetwater for me was really the one that came into the league and shook it up.
I love how you shined a light on what the Harlem Globetrotters also meant to the history of basketball through Sweetwater's story in this. And I wanted to commend you because I noticed I was looking up the information. You're only about my height, and you were a pretty standout basketball player. So I got to commend you as a fellow 5'9" guy on being a standout basketball player at 5'9". Great job on that, Martin, because I can't shoot for lick.
Yeah. Well, thanks, man. And I appreciate that. You and I in the we're the MVPs in the under 6 league.
Yeah,
And then,
under
if
6.
you think about some of the great players, that did that in the league, like Spud Webb and, Nate Robinson and so on and so forth.
Muggsy Bogues.
Muggsy Bogues. I met him years ago at the Basketball Hall of Fame when we got Sweetwater inducted in 2014. He was there for that. That's amazing you mentioned that name. Yeah, I was a big fan of his as well.
Big fan of his also, because I've always been a short guy. So what I love, though, is that the film, when you watch it, you can tell that whoever's making the film has a love for the game of basketball. And that doesn't always permeate with sports films. Sometimes it just feels like the camera's pointed at these activities, but you really understood, especially the 50s game, the flatness of the 50s game, the less flashy version. It's almost like you understood that there was a revolution coming in, and it's really interesting to note that. What was your approach with that?
Oh man, I thank you, and I appreciate your hypersensibility to that. You're the first one to bring that up. I thought it would be fun for generations who are unaware of that, or who might have forgotten about that, or the younger generations who love the game but are unaware that there was an inception to the game. When the game of basketball was invented in 1898, and history points at James Naismith in Canada, it was like playing checkers, right? It was pass the ball here, pass the ball there, catch the ball, shoot the ball into the basket. And like anything else, we evolved. And to me, that was sort of a touchstone for the story, the theme of change and embracing change, and having that be a metaphor for society and potentially global culture. That we have to embrace change and be open to it. I mean, I jump out of bed every day to discover something or learn something new. I think that's what, that's the fountain of youth, and that's the reason we're here, and to pass on knowledge. So I wanted, and being a ball player like yourself, I wanted audiences who potentially, not only basketball fans, but those just sports fans or people who love the triumph of the human spirit. The game is from the inside out, as opposed to the way we watch it on TV every day, which is, obviously camera operators can't get on the court, unfortunately. They haven't set that rule yet.
I don't know how that would work
Maybe
anyway.
Right. It might have to, I mean, it won't surprise me if they figure out how to put a camera, on a player eventually, and have it actually not interfere with the game. So I wanted it to have a happy medium, and we could understand like how the game evolved, and how much fun that is, man. It's just so entertaining, right? I think that I'm going to say most of us diehard basketball fans watch the game to see what might happen in the game that we haven't seen done before. And so that was also part of my motivation in the visual capture of the film.
I like that. I like that. And obviously, you grew up in New York, so you've always been a Knicks fan, right?
Yeah, my dad took me to on my birthday. I think it might have been I'm going to say my 5th or 6th birthday. He took me to the Garden, and I saw that particular Knicks team. But just being at the Garden for the first time felt bigger than life, right?
I don't doubt that. I'm sorry you have to deal with being a Knicks fan all these years. I have the luxury of being a Los Angeles Lakers fan, so.
Oh, right. And I'll tell you something interesting. I'm a loyal guy, so I've always been loyal to the Knicks. However, my family and I, especially my son, who's 8 years old now, his name is Noah, and he's just a basketball aficionado. We love great basketball. And so every year, I always pick a specific team that I think may take the title. And we root for great basketball. And then every so often, when the Knicks show that they're going to participate in that, and it gives us an extra layer, extra layer of happiness.
I love that because I understand that now as we're in a thin period for my Lakers, so I get that.
Right on.
I loved your movie, and it's not the only basketball movie coming out this month, but I think it might be the better of the two. I haven't seen the other one yet, but I look forward to watching that one as well. I wanted to close out with just a couple of questions for you that I asked all my guests, and you can give me just real quick answers. Who are some people that inspire you when you're behind the camera or doing what you do?
It's a great question. And by the way, thank you. I'm so excited that you dug the movie. And it validates effort and choice by a lot of people. So thanks for that, man. That's really cool. I get inspired by, I'm going to say that it's specific individuals from different eras. Certainly, I'll mention only because he just passed away, but Willis Reed was obviously a perfect example of a player who wouldn't take no for an answer, and rose above. For me, there were individuals in history, the ones that are applicable to perhaps this story because I identified with them since I was a kid. Where Martin Luther King Jr. was always somebody that I looked up to. Throughout history and learning about him and how he took steps in direction. Again, I'll use this term of, global togetherness, global harmony. There were players in the history of the game, not just in basketball, but that came along, like Hank Aaron in baseball, who really in a modern era had to put up with a similar social unbalance, cultural unbalance when he was out there trying to break Babe Ruth's record. And I've read a lot about him. And as a kid, as a newspaper boy, he was one of the guys that I used to read about in the paper all the time, and was always inspired by him. It's people that come along the way every so often and take a step in the right direction. I'm not going to remember all of them, but there are filmmakers also like that. For instance, Robert Altman was one of those that always sort of I felt was taking chances. Spike Lee is one of those filmmakers that's always taking chances. So it's different individuals from different walks of life that I would relate to as I was growing up and loving film and loving basketball and loving music. And it's I think the important answer, well, I should say the most, I shouldn't say important, but the answer that feels most organic to me to your question would be individuals who are fearless and willing to take a chance in order to make it a better place, make it a better world, or to get a message across, something like that.
I love that. Now, I was going to ask you one more question, but we do have to go. So what I'm going to say, Martin, is I'm going to ask you to elevator pitch your film just real quick, 30 seconds. We know that Sweetwater comes out April 14th, but why should people check it out?
It'll entertain you. It'll inspire you. And it'll make you feel good.
I would definitely second all of those things. You definitely feel inspired, and I love it. Gave me very much like, and this is not an insult, but like very much like Disney sports film vibes, where everything feels good after you watch it because it all came out sort of okay.
Oh, right on, man. I
love
appreciate your words.
No,
I appreciate your
loved
words
it,
more
man.
than you realize.
No, it was awesome. I watched Jeremy Piven on Kelly Clarkson yesterday talking about the movie, and then I got confirmed for this, and I was like, all right, I just heard Jeremy Piven talking about this. Cool. Guys, make sure you check out this movie, Sweetwater, when it comes out in theaters. Am I correct? April 14th?
Yeah. In theaters, April 14th.
Martin, Guigui, thanks for joining us today, man. We appreciate you and your film. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Oh, right on. Right back at you, man. Appreciate you.